Our panel today, as I said, Glenn Munsey, David Gately and Dean Lester. I'll say good morning firstly to David Gately. Well, actually, he's not there yet, Gator, so we'll go to Glenn. Glenn Munsey. Hello, Glenn.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning to Dean and Gator when they come on, and good morning to all the listeners. And for Tanya's benefit, Dave, Dean Ritchie just teased a little thing in the end of the Big Sports Breakfast there, because Tanya is a big Parramatta fan, and the news is that Dylan Brown has re-signed for Parramatta, so that'll save Tanya worrying what is actually going on for that news.
There you go. She was up and about when Dino said that, so there you go, Para fans. Dylan Brown re-signs. Rugby League, the news will be coming thick and fast this summer, no doubt. Glenn, before I get to Dino, mate, obviously you had a big day there on Saturday for the National Jockeys Trust.
Yes, it was, Dave. A big day there at Randwick in the ballroom. Special guests Pam O'Neill, OAM, and also Kate Nipperis. And, they had a little bit of Melbourne flavour to it, because the winner of the big raffle prize there, the Nicholas Hayward jewellery, valued at around about $17,000, was actually a visitor for the day in the shape of Jason Benbow, who's doing some work for the National Jockeys Trust in Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania. Jason currently out. He's got a broken femur, so he's on crutches, and it's rapidly approaching his 10th wedding anniversary. So he said he is in the good books, I can tell you that now. He had his lovely wife with him on Saturday, so he's a very, very happy man, and she's a very happy lady, having won the big raffle there on Saturday, Jason Benbow. Fantastic.
All right, we'll look forward to talking about that later on. Joining us as well, he's back, Dean Lester. He's been away for a couple of weeks. Dino, welcome back to Punters Post Mortem.
Thank you, Dave. Good to be back.
You're one tough bugger, mate. You've been in the wars.
Yes, accidentally this time, Dave. I was just having a couple of routine tests done, a couple of days in hospital, and they were kind enough to give me the 100% load of COVID. So I ended up 11 days in the COVID ward. So no, it was a bit of fun,
mate. We're glad that you're back and firing on all cylinders, mate. Obviously, from a racing perspective, some really nice horse performances on the weekend.
Yeah, there was, obviously overshadowed by controversy, but there were some progressive horses going through this meeting. They often are at these Flemington December, January meetings, and then you see like an old warrior like Persang get back in the winner's stall just being too classy, and Ashford Street, a bit of a surprise winner of the Kensington Stakes on dry ground, but no one begrudging him his win either. He's been very consistent all the way through.
And David Gately's joining us. Of course, Gator was on Sky One on the weekend, covering all the three meetings, Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne. How are you, Gator?
I'm well, mate. I'm just adding up my winners over those four meetings, and it's not taking me too long.
It's one of those times of year where, well, it's probably not that time of the year. It just seems like it's getting more difficult and difficult, isn't it?
I was thinking the same thing, and I was trying to work out why, because I'm sure there's a reason for everything. One of my theories is perhaps the lowering of the benchmarks in Melbourne and Sydney. A lot of blanket finishes. Looking through these results at Randwick, horses running 10th and 11th have beaten 2.5 lengths. So that's been the theme of it. Just trying to work out where we went wrong and fix it. That's the plan anyway.
Well, that is a really interesting, topic of discussion, which has been mentioned a few times on text before, but we've just never sort of had time to sort of sink our teeth in it. And considering we'll start there, I mean, I'll come to you here, Dino. Are you finding form more difficult now in 2022 than you say were in 2005, 2006? Like, are you finding it's just so much more competitive with the quality of horse we've got and the way these races are now set up?
Absolutely, no doubt, Dave. I've written articles about it that since we went from class 1 to 6 and then open to benchmarks, horses, you could get a horse that would win 3 races and you knew that it wouldn't win beyond class 3. So it either had to go to another jurisdiction or it was virtually not going to be in the race most times. But now, with the benchmarking, a horse wins a 64 or a 70 and he goes up a grade and he's just not quite good enough. But in 3 runs' time he is, and he's got 888 next to his name, but you've got to consider him. And what Gator's point is right, is the margins are never, there's never much between them. So it comes down to run of race stuff, and that's the art of trying to find the winner. So no doubt it's harder as opposed to the systems that were previously in place.
What about your thoughts, Muns?
Yeah, very similar. And then, Dave, you've got to find them at the right price. I have an uncanny knack of finding them when they're 25 to 1 and they run second, and not finding them when they're $3.50 and win, because I'm a very, very price sensitive punter. And that's also an art, because they might be 25 to 1 in, say, a benchmark 78, and you're taking the odds because they've got, a couple of kilos less in that race there, and they'll come back to a 72 or, even a 64 on a Saturday at Newcastle or Kembla, for example, and they've got more weight, but they're much weaker, much tighter in the market. So, there's the art to finding the right horse, but there's also the art to finding it at the right price. Everyone says, well, you'll never go broke backing winners, but if you keep taking, for example, you keep taking evens or $2 instead of $4, you have to back twice as many winners to break square at it.
Are you finding too, Glenn? I mean, I know at the moment, like, the prices aren't set by you, but just from, obviously the observation of the machine and watching, we have some wild fluctuations these days.
Yeah, but a lot of people think that I'm mad, Dave, and 99.9% of them are correct. But for someone to sit there and try and analyse what is going on, I think Saturday really highlighted the situations we are at the moment, trying to follow fluctuations, and I wasn't following them anywhere near as closely as I normally was on Saturday. But this was even Saturday morning in the midst of doing the preview. We had one horse there, Alpha One, who was moving between $1.80 and $2.40 in the one race, without anything else in the race being significantly supported. Well, if anyone can work that out, you're a better man than me, and I've been looking at them for a fair while.
Muns, the other thing is with the advent and the explosion of sports betting, do you just think punters, they just take ridiculously short odds? I'm with you, I'm price sensitive with regard to backing a horse, but there seems to be sometimes a horse you'll see it's $1.80 in the morning, like there was one yesterday at Werribee. It was $1.80 in the morning, and it ran $1.30. And it's just like this pile-on at the short odds.
Well, you did tip it a good thing, Dean, but even you said in the morning, it's short enough at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, in your wildest dreams, you didn't think it was going to run $1.30.
No. And win by an inch.
Yeah, and fell in. But, yeah, and we talk a lot about the JMAC tax here. Now, that can very, very much seriously affect the price of certain horses. Horses that are entitled to be probably $5 chances will traditionally be $3.50 chances. Now, if they win, everyone says, well, I told you it'd win. But if they don't, you should be finding value outside of that. The worst thing is you find the value outside it, and JMac still manages to get them to win. He doesn't ride all of the winners. Now, let's look at Frumos on Saturday. Now, anyone whatsoever that does form, right? And I've said it 1,000 times. The flashing light horse, and Gator, you're going to back us up here, I know. The flashing light horse is massive unders its next run.
I see your point. I need to see some data and information on that before I could form a conclusion. But I think you have to just take each run and race at face value. So I think having a blanket rule of, that was unlucky, so it's going to be unders. I think, in my very humble, I think that's the wrong approach. Being sort of second up, maybe she was a little bit more vulnerable. She didn't have the same acceleration in this particular case, but there's plenty of other occasions where that horse comes out and wins brilliantly because they've just got all this conserved energy. Another one of my many theories, and they win really well. So, yeah, I'd be a little cautious of blanket sort of rules like that. But again, I certainly don't think I know everything.
Muns?
Yeah. Well, I'm only highlighting Frumos as an example. And opinions are great because there's the opinion, she was unlucky in that race at Rose Hill. But there's also the opinion that a horse like Thalassophile in the same race was unlucky as well. Now, it didn't come out and go from being a $3.60 chance to a $1.80 chance its next run. It still ran $15 or $16 at its next start. But and the other, you get to the other extreme there. We've got the team coming on now of a Saturday morning, Timmy Ryan and Timmy Owens from the trading floor at Tab, and making a lay of the day. Now, many times those horses are rock solid in the market all week. And remember, some of these races are being bet on since Monday all in, Wednesday at 11 o'clock final field, and they've been rock solid Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning. They get on the radio at 11 o'clock Saturday morning and make it the lay of the day, and then it's a rush to get it out in the market. And so what has happened to the market Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday? They come on Saturday at 11 o'clock and say, well, we don't like it. Now, all of the money that's been invested on it in the week, for some reason then, all of the other operators, it's a race to see who can get it out in the market the quickest. So why did it just become a massive risk at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning? It's a lot of sheep following going on with the markets at the moment.
We're going to open the lines in terms of the phone lines. 1353 53 is that open line number. So if you've want to get involved with the conversation, I don't mind this convo to kickstart Punters post-mortem. We've got Balmain Max on the line. G'day. No, we don't have Balmain Max. Not yet. We will very, very soon. He's there on hold. In the meantime, before we get to this this whip discussion, I want to talk about, there's already a text here about Superium and a comment on Superium. Again, we see young Zach Lloyd with a really good opportunity to showcase his talent in town, and he's doing that. I'll come to you here, Gator. What did you make of Superium in the 8th event at Randwick on Saturday? Well, we might have lost Gator. I'll come to you then, Dino.
It was an outstanding ride on Superium.
Yeah.
Just getting those rails runs and just having, he did have to play for luck, but when you're riding Superium, that's the best thing to be doing, is playing for luck and hoping you get there right on the line. And he did exactly that on Saturday. He'd been going okay, but he got the result on Saturday and nabbed Coal Crusher, sadly. Who did everything but win. Coda Hill ran well, but it was going to be one of those sort of races where, whether it be Amish Boy or Purple Sector, there were a few on losing streaks there, and it was Superium who come up trumps.
I think we got Gator back. Gator, what did you make of Superium?
Yeah, look, I think it was obviously a brilliant win. I mean, he's still sort of 5-6 lengths off him at the 200 or 300 metre mark. So, I'm not even convinced the rail was the A+ ground. So, it is difficult to take anything away from him. I was with Dino in that I was strongly with Coal Crusher and thought we were home. He took over and had the race shot to pieces, and in a race that was chock full of non-winners, inverted commas. But look, in fairness to Superior, he's run. He was beaten 2.5 lengths in a Group 3 Vic handicap to Ayrton the last time he was on dry ground at 1400. So, he wasn't impossible to find. He just hadn't won for a while. And whether that was him being a little disingenuous or he just taken on races that are a bit beyond him, like the Group 3, or races that he's had no luck, which has been a number of them since. So, but look, it was a theme of the day, though. Very fast time and some very fast sectionals.
Hey, Glenn, what did you make of Superior, mate?
Well, funnily enough, Dave, you talk about horses with long losing streaks. I actually had Purple Sector and Superium as my top two selections in the race. Purple Sector hasn't won a race for 773 days, and Superium hadn't won a race for 552 days. But it was one of those races I didn't want to be with Amish Boy whatsoever, and it's the process of elimination. Realistically, I thought, there was plenty of holes in those horses that were in the market, and at this stage, Purple Sector was a $14 chance and Superium was a $12 chance when I was sitting down to work out how I was handling the race. So I thought it was a good race to be betting in, and I know they hadn't won for a while, but then Amish Boy hadn't won for 1,000 days either. I think Katili, probably 1300's its absolute sort of, peak distance. I was prepared to be sort of risky to hit at 1400. And then I was putting in the two horses resuming, because I'm a sucker for sort of middle distance horses resuming in 1400 metre races, which was Shameless Miss and Knight of Power. Well, they both went, not much chop in the finish of things. Shameless Miss ran 7th, Knight of Power run last, but they're the sort of races that I do like to attack, Dave, when I'm getting away from those horses hard in the market and looking at those horses that I think are just as good a chances at 3 and 4 times the price. And sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong, but his previous run Superior, he was very, very good. He's a horse now that at his 32nd start on Saturday, they decided to throw a set of blinkers on him, and whether or not that switched him on, he'd had plenty of winkers on, winkers off, but blinkers on at your 32nd start, coming off a very, very good run.
I think we've got Balmain Max now on the line. G'day, Balmain.
G'day, Dave. How are you, mate?
Very good, mate. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I've got 2 for Dino, and I've got 1 for you at the finish, mate.
Okay, mate.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to Dino about St. Lawrence, the Kiramar horse. He's had 3 starts. He's won them all impressively, but I can't find him in it for anything, Dino.
You'd have to think he'd be nearly ready to go again this weekend, Max. But
right.
And the entries come out this morning, so.
Yeah, but even on Tabat, they don't know when his next start is, Dino.
Oh, well, if he's not ended for anything just yet.
I didn't know whether he went amiss or he's been sold overseas.
No.
He's still listed as active on Racing Australia.
No, he only ran on the 7th of December. I thought so it's only 12 days ago. So,
okay.
And he won a benchmark 64, so he might be in a 70 on Saturday at Moonee Valley or Boxing Day at Sandown. There's a heap of races in the next couple of weeks that are going to be good money races, so I think you'll probably, when the entries come out for the weekend, you'll probably see him in something.
Because Dave Eustace talked to Dave Stanley at one time, and he said this horse, he said 1.5 miles, 2 miles, he said that's his forte, but he's not in any of the main races.
No, I don't know.
Those races, Dean, but those races we've got markets up for, Max. These pre-nom markets are basically just a guess. And the up-and-coming horses are usually not included in those sort of races.
Well, okay. Well, let's end at that.
Yeah.
What about the Totsu? Dino, when did he have his first start?
I don't know. I think the Australian Cup's where he's sort of aiming, Max. So I think, you know that the Mar Eustace stable don't need to race him much to get him fit. So
no, fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, so the Australian Cup's been moved to the end of March, 26th of March, I think. So he might have a run in early March or late February. So, he's probably 8 weeks away.
Well, welcome back, Dino, anyway, and hope you all have a good Christmas. And I got one for Dave, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, Dave, you've got to do an interview with a young lady called Lou Mary. She's got a small team, but she runs them mainly in the midways and the highways, and she even has takes them up to Newcastle and that too.
Yeah, Lou's a bloke.
Oh, Lou's a bloke, is he?
So we'll get him on.
When I saw the Lou Mary, I thought, yeah, because the Ricky Nelson song, Mary Lou, yeah.
No, we'll get him on. He was on the coverage on Saturday. I think he was on Sky Thoroughbreds before that last race there at Newcastle.
Okay.
So, that's it. We're going to need some. We've got Nick Olive on today on Monday's Experts. So we'll put Lou down and have a chat to him, mate.
Okay, mate, and have a good Christmas.
You too. Thanks, Balmain Max joining us there. All right, plenty of text on the text line about race number 5 at Flemington on the weekend, where we had a situation where we had a dead heat between Invincible Caviar and My Yankee Girl, and it just happened to be as well probably a race where we had a lot of eyeballs on that particular race because of the interest in Invincible Caviar, which is the daughter of Black Caviar. They hit the line lock together, and then we saw it pop up on screen on Sky Racing 1 that there was a stewards protest against the equal first of My Yankee Girl, which was then upheld. The first time this has ever happened in Victoria, and obviously then Twitter went in and social media went into an overdrive, but now we've had a couple of days to digest it and dissect it. And I guess we'll get the comments of the boys. I'll come to you here, Dean Lester, first. Firstly, your initial reaction to how it unfolded, and I guess now you've had a couple of days to digest it. What are your concerns? What are you happy about? Give us a general overview.
My main concern, Dave, is that when a horse has been beaten ahead, the stewards have said they can't quantify a margin. But when it's a dead heat, they can. Now, that mightn't have made the horse go any faster. It's very subjective. As soon as the stewards threw in the protest, it was going to be upheld. Look, the stewards are hamstrung by the rule. Does the rule need tinkering? Well, I know where I'd tinker it. I'd just boot it, but that's me. It's like saying, be competitive, but not too competitive. I don't like the rules, full stop. So, but the stewards, certainly were obliged, because it's not the last 100 metres, and a lot of people have got this a bit misconstrued, and there was no need by the stewards to mention that there was a total of 27 whip strikes, because in the last 100, it doesn't matter what you do. It's before the 100 that there's only 5 strikes allowed and non-consecutive, and they allege that Blake went 12 and 6 consecutive. So he transgressed the rule that they are obliged to investigate.
David Gately, you're on Sky Racing 1. How does this all sit with you?
Look, not well. I just think in any jurisdiction, irrespective of anything, any sport or any walk of life, you've got to deal in facts, and otherwise it's just complete guesswork. Now, there's absolutely no scientific evidence that I've been able to find that can tell me that that horse would have won that race. Invincible Caviar would have won had the whip rules been adhered to. When they can, I'm all for it. Uphold them all. Until that day, you just can't do it. I certainly see the other argument about, there's a rule in place, there has to be a punishment, but I don't understand this result as the punishment. I think the previously where, that inverted to the punitive, punishment, whatever, has come in the form of jockey suspensions and fines, and punters have effectively been left out of that. But you asked for the initial reaction, and my initial reaction when I heard that was they've dismissed every single protest since this rule has come in, and now they've formulated their own protest and uphold it. I'm struggling to swallow it.
Glenn Munsey?
I didn't follow it that closely, Dave, because with doing that function there. But I sort of tried to catch up with it on Saturday night, and always two sides to a story. But as Dean said, when the stewards fired in their own protest, you thought it was going to be upheld. But what if the margin was ahead? Did they fire in the protest because of the fact it was a dead heat? And, did they state their case hard enough by saying the reason we have taken the dead heat off it is the transgression by Blake Shin? It's got nothing to do with the margin or anything like that. You're only allowed X number of strikes before the 100 metres, and Blake exceeded that. But no one can tell you how far a horse will be cost by interference, and always in a protest situation, the best talker will win a protest more often than not, because all they're doing is stating their case, and they are coming up with a margin that they believe is the amount of ground that it cost it. And even plenty of times, jockeys have gone in there and said, well, it cost me a neck, and the stewards have said, well, you got beat half a length. Well, see you, out you go. But, they're always going to put some mayonnaise on how much the margin has been that is going to cost them. But no one can quantify it, whether or not it's the whip or it's interference as such. But it's a very, very, very big can of worms that they've opened now. Everyone was ruining the day that this was going to happen. And I don't think it gives punters confidence if now they're going to be saying, well, hang on, what happens if it's a head or a half head or a nose or whatever? Are they going to say, well, we now can say that this horse gained an advantage? Or have they only said it because it was a dead heat?
I guess, Dino, what do you think about that? Do you think it was only done because it was a dead heat? Do you think if it wasn't dead heat, it wouldn't have happened?
I don't think there's any doubt about it, Dave. And that defies a little bit of logic as well, because Gator said, "Where's the proof of what? What was the quantifying of the margin of the horse?" And it was Blake Shinn's choice to ride like that. But what's to say that horse late in the race might have resented it? I think long as you're not bringing in like the jockeys have the whip as a tool of trade. But don't use it too much. Like, it's like saying, you've got your reins, but don't steer a lot. They are professional athletes. Like, if you're talking optics, when you watched that race, did you think, oh my God, Blake Shinn, what was he doing? You didn't. You just thought he was driving to the line and competing. And ultimately, we are in a sport that is competition.
What about, we talk about Can of Worms opening up now, and there's an article I see done by Gilbert Gardner down there in Victoria that the chief steward has sort of said, look, this could be something that we see now more often than not. I was sort of coming at, because Jamie asked me on the crossover and said, what was my personal opinion? And I've got the opinion of you guys there, very much so with you, Dino, as well, about here's this object, but don't use it. Just sort of take it around for a journey around the track. But from an owner's perspective, you put all the time and effort in, and also maybe from a trainer's perspective too, and that could now just get taken away from you because of a judgment call from someone else. Just doesn't sit well at all. Let's talk about that performance of that horse, because there are some texts about it. This Invincible Caviar. What did you make of her run, Dino?
Look, I think punters that have tuned into her have been getting reasonable prices, because the first few foals of Black Caviar haven't been much good, but this is one that's definitely got substance. She's now 4 of 6 with her. Even in the dead heat scenario, she was a winner on Saturday. So before getting it outright, but she's I think a race like the Balmain Stakes or one of those 1200 metres that will be at Sandown this season. But those sort of races for mares are perfect for her, and she's got a good manner about her, and interesting that Peter Moody said that he thought she actually, even though it was only 2 weeks between runs, she got away on him a little bit on Saturday, and that she had a bit more of a blow than he thought she would, and he's inclined to maybe have a look at the Standish on in 4 weeks' time. So no, she's a very handy mare, and obviously all eyes are on her, as you said, Dave, but she's doing a good job.
Gator, what did you make of Invincible Caviar?
That was a good win. She beat a good field. She did it, albeit with 54 kilos, but she's still on the upward spiral, it seems. In 3 of her past 4 runs, which have been wins, the lameness and forgive miss was the only defeat. She's been well above, class average and all benchmark averages with her times and sectionals, and that tells you that she's well and truly above average.
Let's go up to Sydney. Munns, I'll get you to comment here on IME, who we spoke about on the Punters panel. Obviously, we know that she's got a lot of ability, and she's probably off to the Magic Millions now.
Yes, Dave, I think it was the 800th win for Dynamic Syndications too, or 600 or 800 winners, so congratulations to them. Well, here's a case where the market said there was 2 chances only, and they were IME and Dehorned Unicorn. In the morning, IME was a $2 chance, and Dehorned Unicorn was $2.70. At one stage there, I looked up and saw Dehorned Unicorn was actually favourite. and the market was proven correct because these two, came right away from the rest of the runners there, and Hellfest resuming, got back and just kept pinching ground along the inside. But, the worry with the IME was the fact she was stepping out to 1200. She'd won 1100s at Rose Hill and dictated there. But just James McDonald, barrier one, ran the race to suit himself and held off Dehorn Unicorn, despite the fact it was giving Dehorn Unicorn 7 kilos.
It was a big win, wasn't it, Gator?
A terrific win. Saul Honours winner for mine. She went up inside the leader. Didn't have the most peaceful time. 2 lengths above class average to be precise. 34.2 first 600. So it's not as if they were crawling. She got away with some very, very moderate sectionals in her previous win and just accelerated away. This time there was pressure. She absorbed it. She kicked away and she won. She ran very fast time. Theme of the day though, 17.7. Wowee. So 8 lengths above average, and as referenced, gave a stack away to the runner-up, and they gapped to the third horse. So all honours winner, tick the 1200 metre box with GSC.
And I'll get a comment from you as well, Dino.
Yeah, it was a good race, wasn't it? A really impressive winner, and Dehorn Unicorn chased honestly. It was a brave run, but I thought one of the good races of the day.
All right, fantastic. We've got a caller on the line. I think Greg is not too far away. Is he there, Boydo? He is. Good morning, Greg.
Hello. G'day, mate. How are you?
Very good, mate. What's on your mind?
Just a perfect segue on this whip situation. The Melbourne Stewards, I don't know whether you saw Horsham yesterday. We had a situation where jockey D. Yendall was cruising on a short price favourite, comes around the home turn and virtually throws his whip away. Can't then catch the leader. Surprise, surprise, the leader, 20-1 chance ridden by his wife. Not a question asked. That's when the stewards should come in and say, what's going on? Have a look at the replay. He virtually throws the whip away. And guess who wins the race? A 20-1 shot. He's pristine, pulls his wife. So that's the type of thing that takes away from the punters or the confidence when that sort of stuff. What's Dean sort of think about that?
I think you don't really know Dean Yendall. He would want to beat his wife or anyone at anything. He's just dropped his whip, I think. But look at it. I watched it. I've seen the race. I saw the race in the moment, and I rewound it. He got tangled, and he's dropped. He's certainly it. It was an extravagant way that the whip came out of his hand. I know that, but I think that's a long bow, but I thought more to the point that, if that horse had the whip, it would have won, and the stewards would have been, or the punters would have been even happier. So, anyway.
Thanks for your call, Greg. We've got Fred on the line. And is Fred there? I think he is in a moment. Boydo, he's pressing the buttons here. He's pressing more buttons than a Qantas pilot at the moment. I think he's there. No, he's not there, Fred. So we'll go to our next text on the text line. Hi, guys. Can I get a comment here from the boys on the first race in Sydney? Lazargo, the 2-year-old. A lot of attention was on Snapback. What did we make? I'll come to you here, Dino, on Lazargo.
Which race, Dave?
Race 1 in Sydney, the 2-year-old race.
It was Lazargo. Look, it was a strong performance, wasn't it, down the centre of the track? I think pretty handy race. I haven't got the standardised times, but they were home pretty quick on a day where obviously the track played pretty well, and to run down the twos on favourite and Snapback had good credentials was a good performance. And Wallace starting to roll out some nice young horses.
What about yourself, Gator? What did you make of the 2-year-old performance in the first?
Yeah, look, I think it was a nice win. I mean, given the fact that she ran out noticeably, so there's plenty to work with. She was the fastest for all 3 of her final 200s. Now the speed wasn't there. A 30-second first 500 on a fast day is slack, and it didn't allow them to run any time, and they didn't. So the sectionals home were slick. 10.92 home looks great to the eye, but I don't think the race was any real test of stamina, really.
And what about Munns, that first Euros? We've spoke a lot about Snapback, but this winner was impressive.
Yeah, well, I think the strangest thing about Dave was the conditions that was run in. It was very, very hard actually to see them, and we were standing in the grandstand trying to watch them. It was running, light rain and very, very windy there at Randwick on Saturday. But, the winner had trialled all right. Darren Flindell made it his best bet of the day, which is quite unusual to come up with a first starter up against $1.80 chance as your best bet of the day, but he was proven correct there. I think the stablemate, the Snapback Ackley's, is just looking for ground. It found the line all right late there, as it did in the gym crack, but the winner was just too good.
Certainly was. Fred's on the line. Good morning, Fred.
Yeah, good morning, Dave, and good morning, boys, and I would like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. And I'm glad to know that Dino's back on radio for Saturday morning. I'm waiting to hear his specials that he gives in Adelaide, because he had a fantastic part in earlier the year. But what I rang you about, boys, is something that I'm not going to complain about it, but I think it's something a lot of people have discussed over the weekend, is Dylan Gibbons' apprentice cannot claim because he can only ride at 54. I think this is bad for owners and trainers and stewards to allow this to happen. He took 1 kilo off on one race on Saturday, and I thought Peritas was a very good bet on Saturday, until I realised he couldn't claim and he couldn't get under 54 and a run a shocker. Like, if you're going to accept these rides and with an allowance being available, surely, and he might try hard, I don't know what the kid's doing, but he's got to try a bit harder to get down if he's going to accept rides at 52 kilos, mate.
Any comment, Munns?
He doesn't accept rides at 52 kilos. At an absolute pinch, he rides at 53, but connections that are booking him for these horses know that he's registered riding weight, and the apprentices must register a riding weight that they have to ride to and can claim down to. So everyone is very, very much aware that Dylan Gibbons does not ride below 53.5 at an absolute pinch. I know a number of weeks ago he may have got down to 53, but he notified stewards, and the stewards do put out a note when apprentices get below their registered riding weight. So connections know that, before they book him, what his weight is, and if they're prepared to put him on, knowing full well that he's not going to be claiming, that's their decision. He hasn't been put on by anyone else but the connection. So the connections are evidently happy with the fact that they know that he won't be claiming.
Yeah, on Saturday morning, Munns, you put it over on when you were doing the show on television that Dylan Gibbons will not be claiming when you got down to that horse, and he'd be riding at 54. So, I didn't have a bet in the race, because with 2 kilos being pulled off his back, I thought he had a good chance. But, I'm a bit concerned that for other people that just see in the paper without listening to the TV, watching the TV and listening to your show, that he wasn't able to claim. They would have backed him thinking he's going to go around with 52 kilos on his back. But anyway, fellas, that's my gripe about Saturday. I save money because I never backed it, but I'd just like to wish young Zach Lloyd all the best for him and his parents, Jeff and the family, over Christmas. He is the best apprentice kid I've seen, and I've been punting for 70 years. The best kid I've seen go around since Malcolm Johnson.
You didn't see J-Mac when he was apprentice?
No, I didn't, but, J-Max is classed as the number one jockey in the world today. He got that award out of it, but I'll tell you something, he, like a lot of other jockeys, they can ride bad races the same as good races, mate. But Zach Lloyd, if you'd have watched his 2 wins the other day, he drove a horse between the centre where there was no room to go, and on Saturday when he got up on the fence, mate, his nerve must be strong to be able to do that for a kid. And I wish him all the very best for the future, because I reckon he's another J-Mac for sure.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for your call, Fred. Appreciate it. A text here on the text line in relation to Melbourne and the winner of the last. He's exceptional. Your thoughts there, and also the thoughts on Indifference.
He's exceptional was exceptionally well rated in front by Tommy Stockdale. He cruised along in front, basically ran up about 600 metres, and it was going to be impossible for them to run him down. Victory Bay, best 600, 400, 200 of the day, but couldn't peg him back. It was only 3 lengths off him in the run, but that was the nature of the race structure. And with regard to Indifference, second best 600, second best 400, third best 200 of the meeting, and ran 6th. And Micro, his stablemate, ran the second best last 208. So as Gator mentioned about a race earlier, it wasn't a really true athletic test. It was just a little dash for the cash, and he's exceptional, was very well rated.
What did you make of it, Gator?
Oh, no, it's theft. Yeah. Getting away with 13 lengths below average at Flemington over 1400. You don't see that too often. And kicked and fell in, Victory Base 4 wide, no cover. I'm a big Luke Nolan fan, but he waited and then steamed home, missed the bob. It's it was a tough one, but some good judges were tipping the winner, so it wasn't a fluke, but he shouldn't have won.
We go to another race here. I want to ask you about Munns Frumos. We touched on it earlier. There's a couple of punters here saying surely never again. Well, what do you personally do with Frumos?
Maybe Frumos is waiting to get back onto wet tracks, Dave.
Okay. You think that's the key?
Well, she was very, very dominant her first 3 starts, all on rain-affected tracks. This time in, she struck a good 3 at Rose Hill. And, the debate is there, how unlucky or whatever she is. Perfect case in point. The horse that beat it on Saturday sat 3 wide for the entire in the same race and was the same price it was the other day. Frumos, in unlucky in inverted commas, as a $3.60 chance, became $1.80. So how do you work that out? But, maybe just a wet tracker.
What about yourself, Dino?
I'm thinking that's probably a really valid point with Frumos. I thought it ran okay, but the absolute best might be on softer ground.
And what about yourself, Gator?
Yeah, look, she ran well. She's beaten 1 length into 5th. The problem is the expectation was much higher. When you're $2 or $2.10, you're supposed to be winning 5 out of every 10. She was probably the 4th or 5th best run in that race. So, look, it wasn't bad, but expectation was higher. And Bella Rouge will certainly test Munns' theory next start.
There's text here on the text line saying she needs more ground, Frumos. I don't know if that's tongue-in-cheek. But she only would have been out of the 1,500 Munns. Is she getting sort of left a bit flat-footed in races?
Well, her first few wins, Dave, at Newcastle when Rory Hutchings rode it, she was back in the field there, just got to the outside and powered away. Then came to town, once again on a heavy 8, and Willie Pike back in the field, plenty of room, and charges down the outside. Then the next day was the day that Huey rode it, was back in the field and stayed on the inside and never had a great deal of luck. And then, probably one of her better runs, when you consider it, was she gave Hope in Your Heart a kilo, and Hope in Your Heart had been, just as good a run in the previous run where she was bundled up on the inside, and they went to the line together in that race there. So there was nothing wrong with that run to run second to Hope in Your Heart. There's no disgrace to and what Hope in Your Heart went on to do. But her next 2 runs on hard tracks, I don't think, and I said it on the Punters post-mortem after the Saturday, Kieran McAvoy couldn't have done anything more than what he did on it at Rose Hill. Now, Thalassophile was unlucky in the same race. So she wasn't entitled to be the price she was on Saturday.
All right. Okay. So that's very interesting to see what happens with Frumos and how her career unfolds. We're going to take a quick break at 9:53. If you want to give us a call, you've got your last chance now. 1350 353 is the open line number. Before we get the boys' horses to follow for this Monday.
Blue Point completes the double.
Blue Point, still the only horse ever to win 3 Group 1 sprints at Royal Ascot. Like Nature's Strip, he won the Group 1 King's Stand Stakes. But Blue Point won it twice. Same as Black Caviar, he won the Group 1 Diamond Jubilee Stakes. Blue Point, an elite sprinter who won the same races as the best sprinters in Australia. His first yearlings are at the sales now.
Australia's favourite windows and doors. Excuse me, I just got to get the door. Jess, can you take over, please?
Yep, sure. Australia's favourite windows and doors are available at Sorry. Now someone's knocking at the back door. How about we let the main voiceover guy take over?
Wideline Windows and Doors bring over 50 years of producing quality Australian-made windows and doors that bring life into your home. Enhance the feeling of home with Wideline Windows and Doors. Inquire now at wideline.com.au.
Since 2018, 36 Group 1 winners could have been bought for $100,000 or less at an Inglis sale. That's 44% more than the nearest Australian auction house. Where will you be in 2023? Classic catalogue available now at inglis.com.au.
The typical Aussie way of cooking meat is if it looks cooked, it probably is cooked, right? Wrong. When cooking meat, it's all about bringing the right amount of heat, especially if you want to avoid food poisoning. And the easiest way to check that meat is perfectly and safely cooked is to use a meat thermometer. To check the safe temperature for whatever kind of meat you're cooking, just head to the Food Safety website. That's foodsafety.asn.au. A message from the Food Safety Information Council.
At Drummond Golf, we understand your passion.
Nice roll.
And that's because every Drummond Golf store is owned and run by a local who loves the game as much as you do.
Yeah, it's come off the face really well.
Someone who knows where you play and what you need.
Oh yeah, looking good.
With Australia's biggest range and expert knowledge.
Great. Now let's try that putter with this grip.
So if you want to improve your game, see a local expert at Drummond Golf.
This is Punters Post-Mortem on Sky Sports Radio.
It's 9:56, Sky Sports Radio. We've got some callers on the line before we get our horses to follow from Gator, Dino, and of course Munns. Joe's on the line. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Very good, mate. What's your question?
Well, it's not really a question. It's a statement. The last few weeks, the amount of short price favourites that are getting beaten in Sydney racing is just outstanding. I've never known it to be like that for years and years. They get spruiked up from Thursday all the way through Saturday morning programs and everything, and they go up there and they run like donkeys. Don't understand it. What's going on? Normally there'd be a steward's inquiry or something like that. There's no inquiries. The punters just keep copping it week after week.
Any comment, boys? Munns, Dino? I think that there have been a lot of favourites getting rolled, but I don't think it's been by a fault of anyone particular. I think they've just been the wrong opinion. Munns?
Well, it's not an exact science.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Allowed to be wrong.
Yeah, and a mathematical, and Gator's our mathematical man here, just because they're $2.50, well, that means they should win 40% of the time. Now, if they win 32% of the time, they should be $3.25. But they're $2.50. They're $2.50 through weight of money. And, you know, that's the way that racing has been for a very, very long while. It is not guaranteed that they win. And the art of punting and the art of bookmaking is to the art of bookmaking is to lay them at the shortest price possible to increase the percentage, to give yourself the better chance of laying them at 100% or longer. And the art of punting is to take the right price. And a lot of people, you know, a lot of people are not price sensitive and want to be piling on if everyone thinks it's a good thing. That then makes them shorter in the market than what they're entitled to be.
Beautiful. Thanks for your call, Joe. We get to Paul now on the line. G'day, Paul.
Yeah, hey guys. Just ringing up about the IME race with Dehorn Unicorn. I'd like to thank all the tipsters for tipping Dehorn Unicorn in, because I thought IME was a really, really good bet, and then talking about what you talked about earlier about everyone piling on with the odds and lowering the odds and that, just gave us a better price with IME, I thought.
All right, there you go. More of a comment. Thank you very much for that, Paul. And John's on the line very, very soon. He won't be. He might be still having a guest bag to Tanya about something. John from Wingham. No, he's ringing up for a prize. Big Sports Breakfast Weekend prize or something. He's on the line. John from Wingham. He always rings up. We've got some horses to follow. Well, I'll come to you first here, Dino. What is your horse to follow, mate?
I've got a Few, Dave. Swords Drawn, I think, sticking over really well for Mike Moroney from race 3 on Saturday. Went through the line beautifully, 2,000 metres. Next time won't be far away. And a couple from the Ben and JD Hayes yard. So Risque, probably 1,200 down the straight. He was at his top too far out and peaked on his run, but I think 1,400 next time. He'll be pretty hard to beat. And a horse that they've got back from Hong Kong called Helene Leading Star, who raced in Australia in early days for Darren Weir under the name of Leicester, won a South Australian Derby with Damien Lane aboard. He ran very nicely first up, and might be a couple of runs down the track for him, but I think there'll be a day for him.
All right, and I'll come to you, David Gately. What are your horses to follow?
Yeah, look, I think Dalalat is extremely ready to win midway or similar, but just needs further than 1,200. And it was a lovely late work back at 1,200 in a midway on Saturday. Bella Rouge probably should have won the last. She crossed the line with Frumos and didn't have much luck. In fact, she was only clear in the last 50 metres. It was a terrific run. Hopefully that makes her a coming winner, and it'll test Munz's theory out. And Victory Bay, huge performance given the tempo, and still relatively early in the campaign, so can win soon for us, hopefully.
All right, and Munz, your horses to follow.
Late in the day there, Dave, Super Pursuit, this Kiwi galloper trained by Richard Collett. He's had 2 runs in Australia now, so he's ready, I think, to register a win in Australia. And Festival Dancer in the last. That was her 3rd run back on Saturday. She has won at a mile, so she's gone 1,300, 1,400, 1,400. She's ready to win in a mile. And I think we should congratulate Dave Cameron Crockett for training the trifecta in the Tab Highway on Saturday. It was interesting to note that Cameron did strap the winner himself. I noticed he was looking after Super Extreme, so the combination there of James McDonald and Super Extreme, but a big effort. I know Matty Dunn had done it before, many, many years ago, but Cameron, congratulations to you. 3 runners in the Tab Highway on Saturday, and they went bang, 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 and they finished a couple of lengths in front of the rest of the field.
Yeah, they certainly did. It was a great performance indeed. Thanks for coming on today, boys. Enjoy your Christmas, and we will catch you for Punters Post-Mortem. Now, take note, because of the public holidays, etc., our next Punters Post-Mortem won't be next Monday, of course. Next Monday is the 26th. That's a public holiday, and we'll have standard programming. We won't do Punters Post-Mortem on the 27th. I think that's a public holiday as well in some parts, so we're just got to wait and see what the programming is like there. So I reckon our next Punters Post-Mortem will be the 3rd or the 2nd, so we'll be in touch and we'll let you know. But have a great Christmas, look after yourselves, and thanks for being a part of the show this year in various points.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
And just get your people to speak to my people.
We'll do, mate. We'll get it all sorted out, and we'll look forward to backing plenty of winners over the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, we're going to take a break. We're going to preview racing in New South Wales shortly. We've got 2 meetings, and we're back soon.